It is 8/12. Charges are expected to be filed against the U.S. soldier accused of killing 16 Afghan civilians. This as Sergeant Robert Bales prepares to meet with his defense team for the first time today. The violent shooting has sparked questions about whether the military could have prevented the massacre. So here to talk more about it is radio host Lisa Wexler. How are you, Lisa?
Good morning, Logan.
You wrote an article for the Huffington Post, and you talked a little bit about how, we're putting these men and women through a lot, and maybe we shouldn't be surprised. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But, when things like this happen, they're under a great deal of stress.
Well, my feeling is that we've abused the bravest people in our country. We've abused people that volunteer to stand up and serve for our country, and we have done that by deploying them 1, 2, 3, even 4 times. This particular person was deployed 4 times. The evidence has shown that we have an enormous problem with suicides in the military. From 2004 to 2008, it went up by 80%. They have said, an Army study said that it's the worst it's ever been in 30 years, unprecedented suicides. We have a mental health crisis that at this base, this Lewis McChord base, where this gentleman lived, turned away mental health help for people that sought psychiatric counseling. So, and there's all kind of issues as well with other soldiers that have been accused of waterboarding their own children, ages 3 and 6. There seems to be an epidemic of a mental health crisis, and I feel it's our responsibility. I feel that our fingers are somewhat on the trigger of this gun because he was deployed 4 times. He had a brain injury after one of those deployments. He was nevertheless sent back. And I think all of us share in the responsibility for what we're doing to these men, and they are mostly men. I think we have to have 1 deployment only going forward as a way to say, look, if our country cannot handle the amount of stress that we are putting on these people, then either we have to have more soldiers and incentivize them and make it high pay and good benefits for people to come in, or we have to have fewer conflicts and fewer people fighting around the world. We cannot continue to abuse the people that have already volunteered.
So the other side would say that there are thousands and thousands of men and women that do multiple deployments, and they don't just go out and shoot innocent women and children, and this is really an isolated incident. There have been some other bad incidents, but this is war. It's been going on 10 years. Isn't it really this particular individual's fault and not the military's?
I think it's not a question of fault. I think it's a question of mental illness, that he was sent back into battle. And that's where I think our fingerprints are. He should not have been passed back into battle. He was under too much stress. He had an injured foot and a brain injury. Why do we continue to demand so much of these few people? It's only 1 to 2% of the entire population that's involved in the military now. We are stressing them beyond capacity. I don't see it that way.
Do you think that there should just be a kind of a 1 deployment rule, or maybe a general 1 deployment rule, and then we assess each individual based upon if we think they can handle a 2nd deployment?
One of the issues that's going on in the military, and I talked about this on my talk radio show, and a caller called in who was a father of a Marine. And he told me that one of the things that's going on is that there is a stigma attached if, because of psychological reasons, you don't redeploy. In other words, you don't get promoted. You don't get more compensation. Your career stalls. Well, if we had 1 deployment only, that would be taken away. There wouldn't be the question of having to sign up again if you were only expected to do one deployment. So and the deployment shouldn't be forever. It shouldn't be a 10-year war, a 10-year deployment. It should be a year and a half, and done.
And the government might say, you know what, we need these people to go back 1, 2, 3, and 4 times because we don't have a huge pool of people who are ready to go over there.
And whose
what
fault
are we
is
supposed to do?
Whose fault is that? Is it, I mean, it's our fault as a system, as a government, that we are stressing the same few again and again. Either we decide as a country we need more people in, or as a country we have fewer wars.
Right. Well, they would say it's a voluntary system, and what are we supposed to do? It's hard to make people volunteer.
We have to create better incentives to get more people in.
Yeah.
We can't abuse the ones that have volunteered.
Lisa Wexler, good to see you.
Good to see
Let's
you,
remind everybody that they can listen to the Lisa Wexler Show at www.lisawexler.com. And also, Lisa is, of course, on the radio. You can listen to her there from 4 to 6 p.m. on 12:30 a.m. WFAS, or again, lisawexler.com.
Thank you, Logan.
Thanks, Lisa. Rachel, over to you.